Now, transgender rights are creating an increasing number of legal cases, according to a religious charity. Christian Concern is dealing with 4 separate cases in which parents are opposing decisions taken by schools and social workers to allow children to transition from girl to boy, or vice versa. The BBC also came in for criticism this week for producing a film for children which explores transgender concerns.
I've had comments made to me from much older kids, and I'm like all the time thinking, is this how the world is? Is this how my future is going to be when I leave here and go to university or college? Will there still be prejudice towards me?
Now, CBBC says the film is a fictional drama with actors about bullying, friendship, identity and a sense of belonging. Universal themes important to its audience. We're going to talk about the broader issues raised shortly. But first, let's hear from Stephanie Hurst, a radio DJ, formerly known as Simon, who announced 2 years ago a desire to become a woman.
For 2 hours every single Saturday night, every song is from vinyl. I knew 2 things from a real early age. 1, I wasn't a boy, and 2, that I wanted to work on radio and television. I had a very, very, very successful career when I presented as male. But the more I became successful, the more I felt imprisoned within my own success. And I felt I couldn't be my true self. And I just felt trapped. But as soon as I transitioned, just my world became in colour. So what? I'm changing my gender. What is the big deal? Why do we have this huge hang-up on gender? I think programmes like Just a Girl have a vital part in education. The BBC have wrongly been attacked for commissioning this programme. I watched it and at the end was in tears. I identified with it so much.
Stephanie is now involved in training programmes where she explains her own experience to members of the justice system.
I think educating the police, other people in positions of authority is really important because they will deal with people who have been victims of hate crime and transphobic attacks. Every single police officer I have met and spoke to about this has said that speaking to me and other people like myself has really helped them understand the needs of a trans person. I was watching a TV show when I was 12, 13 years old, and the subject was about transgender, and I finally had a name for it. And to think that someone could be watching this now and going, I feel like this, and then having the courage to see me and see that I've successfully transitioned and everything has been great, that will give them the courage to be their true selves.
Stephanie's story there. Now, joining the panel is journalist and presenter India Willoughby. Morning. Kathy, let's begin with you. More education about transgender issues would be better for us all. That's according to Stephanie. Do you agree?
I think we're getting an awful lot thrust down our throat in the most extraordinary way. And this is a sort of movement, it seems to me, where we're all being told how we must now think about something called transgender, trans people, whatever it is that used to be known as gender dysphoria. And the attempt to sort of like depathologise this, i.e. make it not into a disability or a mental condition, it's turned from that, turned from asking that people are tolerant, understand it, yes, there should be treatment, etc., etc. It's turned into something that we're all being told what we have to think about it, how we have to behave, that we are phobic if we do not agree with whatever the new definitions are, that we have to sort of lie to ourselves and lie to other people. So I am in a state of pretty deep confusion.
Lie to yourself and lie to other people?
Well, for example, and I may be wrong, but I looked up Jack on Wikipedia.
Glorious.
And it said, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because Wiki may have got it wrong, that you want to call yourself they, not he or she. Well, to my thing, they is a plural noun. How can I be expected to do that? It's like I'm having to play a game. So that's all I put it to you. I'm being asked to do something really quite odd.
Odd in your word. OK, Jack,
I couldn't give a toss about my pronouns. I'd rather not be called mental and disabled. I do have a disability, but it's not my state of mind. To be honest, I'm frankly shocked that someone can sit there and say that being transgender is a disability. I mean, that is Dark Ages thinking. For a start, the plural pronoun they has been being in use since about the 1300s as a singular pronoun. So it's not modern. The they as a singular pronoun is not a modern thing. It's hundreds and hundreds of years old. Being transgender isn't a disability. It's not a mental disability.
Gender dysphoria.
I think if we rewound the tapes, it said disability.
I you misspoke, but you did say disability. India.
I was really shocked.
That's what you meant.
I did.
Okay.
I was really shocked by the language you're using there. Pathology, hinting that it's a disability. I mean, it's nothing. I think you can really confuse, Cathy. You want to get with it. Maybe me and you should go shopping. Maybe go on a spa day, get to know each other.
I'm well aware.
There's no propaganda.
India, can you explain where you're coming from, please?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I'd just like to lay a few ghosts to rest there. There's no movement, there's no brainwashing going on here whatsoever. All that's happening is that transgender people, who have been around since time immemorial, are getting more confident and actually making ourselves known. Now, partly in your Vicar of Dibley type world where these things never happen, you're probably shocked and appalled. But this is a medical thing. It's nothing up there. If you take, and studies have been done, if you look at the Neuroscientists, forget about the religious studies that have been done, but if you look at the Neuroscientist information, when they have taken transgender brains and dissected them at the end, the areas of development are closer to the gender that person identifies with than others. And that's a biological fact.
I'm not sure. I think that biology would be really argued that biology is XX and XY.
OK, I'll tell you what, as the chair of this debate, I'm not going to go into the biology because this discussion is about whether or not we need more education about transgender issues. And you've made very clear, Cathy, that you feel you're being almost forced to change your views or adapt your views to something you're not comfortable with. Tom, is this the case? Do you think that people are now being having ideas thrust upon them that they're not comfortable with, and it's going to take too long, perhaps, to change views?
I think there's an incredibly intolerant strain to the rise of kind of transgenderism in relation to politics as well as social policy. And when people talk about transgender education, they're basically suggesting that it's a foregone conclusion. Now, I, as with many other people, am a liberal, tolerant sort of person. I'm open-minded, I'm up for having this debate. And really, in terms of the mainstream, this has only really entered that discussion relatively recently, I think it's fair to say. But there has been a kind of a concerted effort to anyone who does raise questions is instantly phobic. Anyone who does raise issues in relation to this, despite the huge implications it has in relation to various aspects of social life, particularly in relation to how we deal with children, which I think is a very crucial point that we need to look at. You can't have that discussion in a climate in which any sort of questioning of this, you're some sort of religious nutter or some sort of bigot. That's not useful.
How open are you, Jack, to people questioning what they're being told or being introduced to a new concept in their view that is new to them?
As a trans person, I don't mind people asking questions. I don't mind natural curiosity. I don't mind educating people. But when those questions boil down to what's in your pants and where do you pee, what's in your pants and where do you pee, actually people don't want a debate. They want to treat you like a freak show. If people want to have a real nuanced debate with me about my hormone levels, about my childhood, about my experiences, about my dysphoria, about the way I present and all the other things, about my body language, about everything, I'm happy to have that conversation if it educates people. But if people want to know, you know, what my body looks like or how I choose to socialise, then that's... But there's a question that comes and comes and comes.
In all honesty.
You seem very interested from what I've read on the web about something that actually affects 0.5 to 1% of the population, and you're getting your knickers to use...
let's not... We won't be offensive on these sofas, but let's talk about the point that Jack brought up, the level of education, because at the moment, maybe someone like Cathy feels the only way she's going to become educated about this is by asking questions, and maybe not the right questions. What about education, India? Where does this fit in education in our system?
Education's got to be a good thing, wherever the subject. Without education, you cannot make an informed choice or a decision. Again, we're quite happy with religion, for instance, being taught in schools, which is based on belief. Hold my hand up, you know, I don't believe in any particular God or anything. But when it comes to facts or things that are really around us in this modern age, there seems to be a reluctance in some quarters to introduce that into the curriculum. And I think I look at it this way. 20 years ago, certain people would be appalled at the prospect that sex education was being taught in schools. Completely accepted now, I would guess, on all quarters. And I think it's very much the same with transgender issues. I think in 20 years' time, we'll look back at now thinking, what was all the fuss about?
Tom, you know, the children's programme, the CBBC programme, under fire, getting criticism for this. Do you think that's right? Or do you think it's absolutely now is the time that programmes like this need to be here to begin the debate, India, as you say, so that in 20 years' time, it's a non-debate?
Well, I'm not necessarily interested at kind of squealing at one particular programme, looking at whether it should be balanced or not, but I think you do have to look at the wider climate here, especially as it relates to children, because at the moment, as we've seen, there's been certain court cases recently where it's been revealed which local authorities are basically putting pressure on parents, often with different views, to suggest that their children should be put forward for transition therapy of some form or another. You've got schools such as in Brighton and Hove Council asking all of their parents to ask their children what gender identity.
I've never heard of an instance where a local authority has put pressure on parents.
Oh, it is. It's been in the news.
Children.
There was a story in the news last week.
A story, but
no. The people.
Well, let Tom explain what he's.
Well, my broader point here is that I think that one of the things that, again, in this kind of rush to just accept this wholesale without really looking at it critically, without really debating it, I think we're actually putting a lot in the line, and this especially relates to children, because there is this suggestion that basically all children should almost be thinking about their gender identity. I think that's loading children with a lot of anxieties that otherwise...
Jack, you're shaking your head. Tom made the point that it's trying to load children to think, to deliberately think about issues that perhaps it wouldn't have even occurred to them to think about.
So my child is the son of a transgender parent. So if of all children out there, you know, he's going to be one of the ones that's most clued up about a parent who's switching their gender identity or a person. We sat down together and we watched that CBBC programme because it's aimed at his audience. He got bored and walked away. He'd rather watch something else on the telly. And I think if you're a child and you find something that you identify with, or you see yourself represented on TV or in any form of media, it makes you feel valid and validated, and like your experiences matter. It helps you put a name to them. But that's not going to count for a vast proportion of children who are just going to watch it to gain some understanding.
Jack's made the point that her child watched it, as most children do with any children's programme, to walk away, either they're interested or not. Do you think that the CBBC drama was appropriate?
No, I don't.
Did you watch it?
We've had a BBC... I haven't watched that one, but I've read quite a lot about it, and I know my co-editor had watched it, and we, you know, have similar views on this. I think it's irresponsible to children to be making them to think about things that they wouldn't. They are children. Let's have some childhood left. And we're in a very politically correct culture now where teachers are now worried that they have to normalise something that's a minority. As far as hang on. As far as as far as prepubescent children are concerned, they can think a lot of things about themselves. They might want to be horses or dogs or anything. You can go along with it to a point, but you don't pander to it. They are children and their minds will change, and they do change.
Not necessarily. They won't change.
Of the children who go to the Tavistock, who obviously are the cases where there's some type of gender dysphoria issue there and the parents are worried about it, 70 or 80% naturally go back to, without anything further, to being aligned with their gender. But is it then a
problem, Cathy? Is it then a problem in the first place that they thought about it? What's the problem?
Well, we're normalising it and we're glamorising it.
It's not glamorous.
Look at the front of the Sunday Times, Saturday Times supplement yesterday. A picture of a boy turned into girl posing like a model. This is outrageous.
Oh, this is India. Let's get India.
How dare transgender people be beautiful?
No, he's a boy. He's a child.
India.
Cathy, how dare we be beautiful?
India, please.
Honestly, I feel I'm connected in a time loop to the 1940s. It's really bizarre. All I will say is that I watched Bill and Ben. I did want to grow up and live in a plant pot. I watched Muffin the Mule. Did I want to be a donkey? No. We're talking about a children's programme, and as Jack said there, most kids watch it. They might get some enjoyment or pleasure, or might laugh or giggle, but then they move on. If you are transgender, one of these people, 1 in 3 transgender people at some point contemplate suicide. And it's not because they're trans, it's because society as a whole has a problem accepting them. And if we can broaden awareness and educate people, surely that has got to be a good thing.
OK, let's find out what our viewers are thinking. You've been sending your texts and tweets. Thank you. Tommy, what are they saying?
Naga, it's no surprise we're trending on Twitter, as we always are, but very, very varied comments as well. Some people saying they're welcoming education on the topic, but others are worried, like our panel have said this morning, about confusing children or bombarding children. Helen says, a child cannot be transgender because children are still figuring out what gender is at that stage. Debs says, I think that too much information without informed discussion could be more confusing for children. Elizabeth says, yes, it's a subject that most of us know very little about. And Jimmy makes a point that I think Tom made on our panel today. He says, no, we don't need any more education. It's getting too oversaturated, and encouraging children like this can be dangerous. And finally, Pam says, what's wrong with teaching kids about these issues? They don't suddenly become 16 and then decide. It's with them forever.
That's a good point there. Tom, you know, someone was saying you don't become transgender, you don't. When's the certain point that you decide you're transgender? That's too simplistic a question to ask, surely. So the process is, it develops. People have ideas. People have acknowledgements of who they are, and it doesn't happen at an age specific, you know, at one certain age.
Well, I'm sure that is the case, but I also think there's a danger of kind of projecting onto children something like transgenderism unnecessarily, because I think in the current climate we've gotten into a situation where children who should be free to kind of let kids be kids, to experiment, we end up kind of pathologising what are often quite innocent behaviours. Boys and girls often like to play with gender. Sometimes everyone's got that, you know, that little brother who comes running down the stairs and his sister's dressed saying, look, mum, I'm a girl. And previously we just say, that's nice, dear. Now it's like, oh, should we call the counsellor? And that ultimately I think is quite a negative thing, of course. And this is having...
Do parents go that far, Jack? I mean,
Crazy.
do parents go that far? They automatically make that leap, or is it just an awareness?
No, I mean, I've known I'm transgender for about a decade. My son, when he was younger at nursery, before I started any form of transition, before I came out, before I really told any friends and family, would go to nursery and he'd put a princess dress and high heels on. And me knowing I was trans, that never flagged up to me, oh, God, maybe my son wants to be a girl. I was like, oh, that's nice. Don't you look pretty? Don't you look nice? Aren't you a princess? And we went along our merry way. So you're saying that people are going to be pathologising children or pushing them into boxes. If I, as a trans person, can look at my son in a dress and not think he may also be a trans person, I think everybody else has probably not got problems.
Do you think that's because you have a different level of education around transgender issues?
I think I'm just decent. I think I just accept people as they are.
With you aren't decent.
Well, people who sit and say that I'm mentally ill and mentally disabled for being transgender, I would say that's not decent.
There's a condition called gender dysphoria.
I know, I have it. Don't tell me about my own condition. I have it.
What we have to look at is, with the media bombardment, there cannot not be a relationship, but the number of referrals to, like, I think it's the Tavistock or the Portman, has gone up so dramatically.
But is that not because people are more aware and are more confident about expressing who they are? It's not because they've watched a programme and thought, do you know what, I'm going to follow that fashion and become things.
Well, Cathy, I'm going to let you finish your point with me.
Well, I think the danger of it is there may be something in what you say, but also it may be parents getting too anxious about something that's actually quite normal, that will pass. You know, girls have always wanted to be boys and boys have always wanted to be girls. They've been tomboys, they've been, you know, there's always been that. But once they get into these clinics, they will get onto a thing of puberty blockers, which is dangerous, which are life-changing things. Then they begin to, you get little boys talking about, when I'm grown up, I want to have a womb. You know, this is sort of, it's a dangerous level given the medicalisation
I think a lot of this
the
is
hormonal
fantasy.
treatment.
Yes, I think all of our... I'll tell you what I think. I think
worried.
all of our views are very diverse, and I thank you very much for expressing them on this panel. And if the frost between you two could be any colder...
I say we're going to go on a spa day, we're going to go shopping. I'm going to convert you.
OK, you enjoy that.
We could be friends, but you won't convert me.
Oh, thank you for your comments as well. Really helping engage in the conversation. Thank you.